That thing was awesome.
I know.
So, before we get into this resolution, I was going to say that, and Ms. Ansott, you're here, maybe you can, you heard Trustee Ish talk about the STEAM showcase that we attended last week, and
Well, I'll just say that the superintendent said, I can't believe this child just showed me his video and his graphic novel, a very short novel, about pesticides and the impact on the environment. She said we have a board resolution coming up at the next board meeting, and she knew that classified would be here in full force and that the child would probably be in bed before we got to this part of the agenda. But he will be receiving a certificate later for his prior knowledge and awareness that pesticides are bad. He has a beautiful little comic book or graphic novel where the bees attack the pesticide factory.
this little young man, he was so knowledgeable about the subject. And the one thing that he talked about was how bees could support in the fight against pesticides. It was just incredible. And so at our next board meeting, we will have an acknowledgement. I knew it was going to be a late board meeting this time, and I didn't feel it was going to be fair to keep a young kid up this late. So I told him he could watch it on Facebook. We were live streaming it, and we would be showing his storybook, Luis Santiago. And he was so thrilled that, number one, we would even want to acknowledge his work at a board meeting. So did you get a chance to see this?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the resolution.
The next resolution, Resolution 2017/18-17, agricultural pesticides, is before you, and I would recommend approval by the board. This regulation increases from the current requirements of law the space of standoff for use of pesticides and the advance notification for the application of pesticides. It's notable that 1 in 4 students in our schools in this county are within a quarter mile of pesticide applications. I pledge us to work with the agricultural community. That's the strongest leg we stand on in this county to use organic, non-toxic pesticides as we move forward. It also calls for state legislation to reinforce that. If you'd like, I can read the resolution. If not, I would ask for your vote. It's a roll call vote.
It's a very long resolution.
I'd like to say.
Yeah, and I especially like the last one. You'll get to it, but it says, be it further resolved that the Salinas City Elementary School District shall examine its own practices regarding the use of toxic chemicals in school grounds and will seek to reduce or discontinue the use of such harmful chemicals. That's what I like the best.
We have done that through a mixture of non-toxic chemicals and detergents, and we've tested that at our sites and the application on weeds with between 60 and 80% success rates, and we're continuing to remix the cocktail of non-toxic, non-chemical applicains for weeds.
Great. No, I don't mind reading this. Okay, so resolution number 2017/18-17 agricultural pesticides. Protecting our staff and students from the health risks of agricultural pesticides by supporting a transition to less chemically intensive agriculture and implementing buffer zones and notification systems for drift-prone pesticide applications around schools and neighborhoods. Whereas it is known that many of the chemicals used in local agricultural production, such as organophosphate and carbamate pesticides, are dangerous to children, adults, and our environment, and a reduction in exposure to these in the best interest of all. And whereas even with legally required protections, procedures, and buffer zones, agricultural pesticide use poses a significant health risk for Salinas City Elementary students and staff. And whereas a comprehensive public health study completed in 2014 found that 1 in 4 Monterey County children attend schools within a quarter mile of pesticides, a public health concern. Because of the agricultural nature of some of our schools in our district, we have school children living and attending schools close to farming. And whereas the UC Berkeley Chamacos Center for the Health Assessment of Mothers and Children of Salinas research team has been studying the impacts of use of organophosphate pesticides, including chloropyrifos.
Chlorpyrifos.
Stand correct. In the Salinas Valley for over 18 years, it has found correlations between prenatal and early childhood exposure, decreased IQ, increased risk of attention problems, and decreased lung function. And whereas the California Department of Pesticide Regulation has responded to statewide demands with a policy that creates quarter-mile buffer zones for half of the day and inadequately notifies the community of upcoming pesticide applications, failing to protect schools, workers, and communities from long-term pesticide exposure. And whereas agricultural chemicals that negatively impact health, learning, and behavior contribute to increased cost for underfunded and understaffed schools, particularly special education programs. And whereas agriculture is a multi-billion-dollar industry in Monterey County and employs many of our students, their families, as well as our graduates. And whereas the Salinas City Elementary School District Board of Trustees supports the use of sustainable and environmentally sound agricultural practices to improve safety in our schools and our communities. And therefore be it resolved that the Salinas City Elementary School District will strive to work with local and state pesticide regulators to increase the health protective zones around schools where highly hazardous pesticides are not to be applied. And B, require at least 1 week advance notification of highly hazardous agricultural pesticide use near schools. And be it further resolved that Salinas City Elementary School District will begin to explore effective ways to share notification with our school community, such as auto dialer calls, parent notification home to families, and bi or trilingual signage on school campus. And be it further resolved that the Salinas City Elementary School District urges our state and federal legislatures to pass laws and financially assist farmers, growers, landowners in offsetting costs to transition their farms to organic or harmless pesticides and chemicals, especially those farms which are within close proximity to schools and neighborhoods. And be it further resolved that the Salinas City Elementary School District shall examine its own practices regarding the use of toxic chemicals on school grounds and will seek to reduce or discontinue the use of such harmful chemicals. Therefore, be it resolved that the Salinas City Elementary School District will increase efforts in educating families about hazardous pesticide exposure and engage students in creating a culture of critical thinking and advocacy around the issue of pesticides and other public health issues in and around our city. The Board of Education takes the following action on this resolution.
I'll move we approve this.
Comments?
Agricultural.
Comment.
I'm sorry?
Do you have a comment?
Before we do this? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is an issue near and dear to my heart, and we have the group here, Safe Bag, Safe School. Jerry and Darren and Mr. Estrada worked this with once already with the Roundup. Fantastic. I'm glad we're still doing that, Jerry. But thank you, Jamie. I wanted to thank Amy because I bounced off ideas regarding this resolution and kind of hoping that it would pass and kind of make it into a big, Salinas Elementary School District, SETC, Earth Day, kind of like, yay, look what we're doing together. And again, Mr. Estrada for bouncing ideas off him. I had a million things I wanted to say, but I don't need to say any of this other than thank you for recommending to pass this resolution. Our kids will thank you for that, and our teachers, our staff, everybody, the entire community will thank you for passing this very important resolution. So thank you to the school board for that.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, more comments.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All line them.
Can you go ahead?
Unless you're next. No, I'll be last. You'll be last, okay. Thank you very much for considering this resolution. As a former trustee, I also realized that setting a policy in that direction gives it more teeth. So you're making a statement, the world to see, and the public out here to view, which is great. but we do need more teeth on it. I say that because 20 plus years ago, we did this. And the city parks and everybody, the city of Salinas, was using Roundup and everything else. We had dogs and cats all over the neighborhood who were coming out with deformities. So we knew the cats were out, the dogs were out in the neighborhoods, and then the kids and the ADA around in and around the parks, especially Central Park and Tao. So resolutions were passed and policies were created to put warning signs on the schools, on the parks, city parks. And it went well until administration changed, and then finding that there was no teeth and nobody to follow up on it, it'd be like what we have done with the farm workers in the fields. You put a posting sign out there and nobody's monitoring it. It's like having a stop sign in the corner and nobody's monitoring that, and people are just running it and don't care. In this case, I thank you very much. I wish you a happy birthday. This was one of the treatments for you, I feel, because we were really sharpening our teeth to get ready to do lawsuits on schools because of the Chamaco report and the knowledge that now is out there. You're doing the right thing, because in ag, we fought for 2.5 years. We had all the proof necessary, but we had to take them to court. We won 4 lawsuits, each one over $250,000. Finally, the Ag Commission decided, let's put up the darn signs. And what, 8 by 11 inch signs, they cost nothing, save them hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in potential lawsuits. And I would hate to see any one of your schools get drifted on. Not that it's your fault, not that it's a grower's fault, not that it's anybody's fault. Nature has ways of doing things, and guess what? People get sick, and they're going to seek the deepest pocket. And thank you for doing the right thing. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Christy Toronto, and I'm with SAS, Safe Ag, Safe Schools, and we are lobbying on behalf of buffer zones for the schools. And I personally have come to this and been educated about pesticides in the hard way. My son was diagnosed in 1994 with cancer, and we spent quite a bit of time up at Stanford. And that was 1994. And that's when I started hearing from just about everybody that I ran into, from the bus drivers to the aides to the janitors, that it's well known within the science community that there's a lot of kids that come from Monterey County, a lot of kids who come from Kern County that end up at Stanford and have to go through. My son Justin went through that. It was very, very hard for both he and I and his father and his father's wife, stepmother, and the extended family of his cousins. Everybody felt it, and it was something that we all went through. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I started reading, doing a lot of reading, and it turns out that the amount of pesticides that are being sprayed has gone from 250,000 tons a year on California to 450,000 tons. And if a Mazda Civic is a 2,000-pound vehicle, then that means that in 1 year, 450 Honda Civics are hitting the ground. And both children's developing bodies, farm workers are most impacted. Farm workers' lifespan's 49 years as compared to 78. We all have to pay attention to these pesticides. The buffer zone that we're talking about is wonderful. We'd like to have a whole mile. There's a map, it's called the California Environmental Health Tracking Map, and if you can Google that, you'll see how many pounds are being sprayed around each school and just how that's impacted. We're talking ADHD, we're talking, besides cancer, we're talking autism, developmental disorders. These are costing us a lot of money. I'm very grateful and thankful that my son survived his cancer, but I do feel put in the position of responsibility now to talk about this and to advocate on behalf of children. If the FDA and the EPA, the EPA is not protecting us with Scott Pruitt at the helm, then we need to protect our children, and the boards, the teachers, the parents themselves need to advocate. And also the advance warning, there's only one person on each site of every school that has that information. We need to get that out to the parents, to the teachers, so we all know when those pesticides are going to be coming, and keep the children in. Do something. 450,000 tons isn't something, and the pesticides are viral. They're
No, I'm sorry.
they're poisonous. So anyhow, I appreciate it very much if you would help us with the buffer and the notification. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's getting awfully late, we still have to go to closed session. Is anyone against us adopting this resolution? May we move forward and do it?
I make a brief comment. Sure. Administration, thank you, board members. I think I'm about to commend you, and I just want to point out that this is a vital outbreak of democracy in regards to California policy about pesticides. Joshua Ezekiel, California Teachers Association, Safe Act, Safe Schools, Labor Council. According to California law, there is no body within the county, there is no elected official within the county with the power to regulate pesticides. It's only an appointed agricultural commissioner. You, as an elected body, are striking a blow for democracy when you approve this resolution. We thank you for it.
Motion to approve this resolution?
I started, I'd like to move we approve resolution number 2017/18-17, agricultural pesticides.
I'd like to second that.
Roll call, please.
President Kim,
Aye.
Vice President Ish,
Aye.
Clerk Estrada, Trustee Garcia, and Trustee Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much.